It's no secret that Donald Trump is very clearly the big loser from the January 6th televised hearings. But in order to have a loser, that means you also have to have a winner. And based on the polling data that we're seeing, it's kind of hard to say that the Democrats are winning. Yeah, they're certainly changing people's minds, which is great, but it's not necessarily benefiting the Democratic Party, so they're not the winner. So who is benefiting from all of this? Well, there's a very clear answer, folks, and that person happens to be Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. Nobody involved in these hearings has done better than Ron DeSantis, who is not involved in these hearings. So how does something that does not affect Ron DeSantis one way or the other benefit him? Glad you asked, folks. Because it turns out donors, and again, I've talked about this at length, but we're getting more and more reports in as more and more donors do this. Big money Republican donors are now fleeing from Donald Trump and running to Ron DeSantis, who I just learned this because I hadn't seen the latest numbers. I was still laboring under the delusion that Ron DeSantis had 50 some odd $million in the bank for his reelection. I was way off. He has over $100 million now in his campaign war chest. A war chest that he probably doesn't even need to touch in order to win re-election here in the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis is now sitting on more money than the Republican Party and the Democratic Party combined. Ron DeSantis now has more money than Donald Trump's Political Action Committee. Ron DeSantis has more money than any other candidate in the United States of America. Think about that for a minute. And he didn't have to spend it on this race. So why is all this money going to him? Well, according to one donor, Dan Eberhardt, who recently spoke to Reuters about this, he said he has spoken to 150 of his fellow Republican donors. And he said that they backed Trump 6 months ago, and only a quarter of that 150 went for DeSantis. But now, he says, the balance has shifted. 2/3 want DeSantis now as the 2024 nominee. So he went from having 25% of the support of these, 150 some odd donors that Eberhardt talks to now having 66% of their support. Now, that's not necessarily where the entirety of his, $110 million war chest came from, but it's certainly helping. And these donors, as I repeatedly pointed out, and I got to point it out again just because it's important to remember, these donors aren't trying to buy the state of Florida. They got everything they need here in Florida. Always have, always will, even when the Democrats were in charge, 30 years ago. But they're trying to pay off DeSantis now so that when he runs in 2024, and assuming he wins, they've already bought him. You don't have to spend a whole heck of a lot of money on the presidential race if you've already gotten in the guy's good graces and basically, bought him before he gets really expensive. It's an investment. Right now, buying DeSantis is cheap, and there's very little risk involved. Whereas buying Donald Trump, guy's got a lot of money himself, so you gotta spend big to buy into him. Not to mention, that's a huge risk that likely is not going to pay off for you. So, speaking as, an investment, DeSantis is clearly more attractive to these people than Donald Trump, which is why Ron DeSantis, so far, is the biggest winner of these January 6th committee hearings. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.